If you can wake up with the right perspective, it shifts everything. If you can count your blessings and you can realize what you have in front of you, it's so much better than slamming 2 cups of coffee, going to YouTube or going to Facebook, seeing all the garbage that's going on politically, everybody hating each other. You really got to shift your perspective. It's life-changing.
Hey, it's Rocky. Welcome to Richer Soul. Today's guest is JB Glossinger, who helps high achievers stop living on autopilot and start living with a real operating system. Imagine it's 12 months from now, and you've achieved your major life goals. How does it feel to be in the best shape of your life? To wake up energized, excited about the day? To have great relationships and friends who support you and propel you forward? How does it feel to have an excess of money, to be able to make the choices you want? To be fearless and open to trying new adventures? Imagine being connected to the universe and it providing everything you desire. It's possible over time, and your past does not dictate your future. The only thing holding you back from this vision is you. It's time to take control of our thoughts and use them to our advantage. Welcome to Richer Soul, where we achieve our dreams and bring balance to health, wealth, relationships, time, and spirituality. If you have not had a chance to listen to episodes 1 through 9, I encourage you to go back and listen to the framework behind Richer Soul and how to create the life of your dreams. You can also find all the show notes for this episode at richersoul.com. What happens when you do all the right things, hit your goals, build your business, and still feel like something's missing? That's what the whole podcast was built around. A lot of high achievers do not have a motivation problem. They have a systems problem. They're relying on pressure, pace, and performance to carry them. But eventually that catches up with us. In our conversation today, JB breaks down why clarity comes from living with intention instead of reaction, and why every loop in life isn't meant to be closed. Major aha for me. If you ever felt productive but not peaceful, successful but not settled, we're going to chat about it in this episode. Let's meet JB and see how it's done. Welcome to Richer Soul, JB Glossinger. It's great to have you join us today.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
And I'm excited to learn from you today. We always like to start at the beginning. What was it like when you were growing up, and how much did your family and school teach you about money?
We hated money. I mean, it was, I don't even want to talk about this because this is like, well, first of all, my mother was very poor because my father was a professional football player and this just awesome athlete that left her as I was a child. And it was very rough until I was 10. And I don't want to go to the van down by the river story, but it was tough. She had to, get food for us and it was rough. And then she met my stepfather, which was great. Military guy, best thing that ever happened to her. They're doing fantastic in retirement. But we had a drawer where they kept money. And that's where the fights were. I mean, as a kid growing up, I just always remember who took the damn money out of the drawer, and it was always fights. And money was as a blue collar kid in Indiana, was just a nasty thing. I grew up hating it because it was the thing that everybody fought about.
I'm assuming no one taught you how to make money, use money.
No, not even remote. No, like not even remotely close to it. I just am I'm sorry I'm laughing because it's just insane to even think about that. There was nothing even remotely close to teaching us about money. But yeah, put it in the drawer. If you had any extra money, you put it under the socks in the sock drawer.
There you go. That's the lessons you need. And I'm assuming school did nothing either then.
No, school was terrible. I just wrote a new book and the first word in it, and I don't want to, throw anybody off, but it's retard because in 3rd grade I got held back. And so all the kids called me a retard. I had special needs and I used to have to go upstairs. They would come. This is how bad school was in the 70s. They would come and say, James, That's why they call me JB. I want to leave that person alone. But third grade, they'd say, James, you need to come to your class. They said I enunciate wrong. And they'd make me go out of class while the other kids are in class. And so I was going behind and then going up there. And it was a disaster. So they didn't even know what they were doing with that, let alone to talk about financial education. There was absolutely nothing.
We both know Michalowicz. He just sent out an email the other day about how I think he said half of entrepreneurs are on the spectrum. In the sense of they've got neurodivergence, and it's that makes them different and can make them great.
There's definitely something to that. Look, I got C's and D's in school. I did not get A's and B's. Now, I did good in corporate. I rose through corporate because I was decent in sales. But as I've been doing 21 years of coaching, the reason my systems, I think, work is because I think I'm there somewhere because I didn't get the A's or B's. I didn't have the school intelligence. I had to go out and figure out life. Now, I did an MBA and PhD later, and those were better because they were more directed. Where at school, I'm sitting there going, I'm not going to use trig. And they would say, well, you're never going to have a calculator with you all the time. Well, I was a little bit of a futurist. Like I knew, what am I learning this for? I'm going to have a calculator at some time. So yes, I would think we all, especially entrepreneurs, are a little bit different. And that's what makes us do what we do.
That makes a lot of sense. So you grew up with all of these labels, all of these different things that you had to deal with. It sounds like you broke free. Was that a journey? Was it something you're still working on?
You got great
Was
questions.
there an aha?
I think it's a constant journey. I mean, I never feel successful. But the guy that started MorningCoach, 6,000 episodes before 21 years ago, if he was sitting in this chair, he couldn't believe what we've done. But to me, I never feel successful. I wake up every day like I suck. And I have imposter syndrome, and I deal with it on a daily basis. I mean, just before the pre-show, we were talking about it. I'm a terrible marketer. I'm supposed to never say that. On my mastermind groups say, JB, never say that. But it's the truth. I mean, I got to admit what it is. I try. I mean, here's the real deal. Like, I'm very happy and at peace now. Life could never be better. And the honest truth is I'm really happy where I'm at. And that's what I focus on every day. So I am happy. But as far as business, I don't ever feel successful.
Why do you think that is?
I really don't know. I don't know. Some people could say it's drive. I think the other thing is we just live in a society where we're just bombarded by people that are doing things and you're constantly judging yourself. And, I teach this. So I'm the first person who says, you can have baselines, but never judge whatever somebody else is doing. But I'm sorry. Don McGilree's 4 Agreements says, don't take anything personally. These ideas that don't judge. I don't know how you can't, especially if you've done something like me 21 years. You're going to look at what Tony Robbins does. My mentor, Zig Ziglar, Les Brown, I've been doing it a long time. You're going to say, well, what do they got and what do I have? You know what I'm saying? So as hard as you don't want to compare, I think that's why, it's really challenging.
It is. I'll admit to the same. Dan Sullivan talks about that in The Gain and the Gap. It's, you're always looking up the mountain. Sometimes you got to turn around and go, wow, I'm pretty high up here.
Well, and I just mentioned to you that, I did this great thing for my mom. I moved back to my hometown, bought a retreat center here. I also live in Florida, and my wife's Colombian. We have a couple places, but I went down there to speak at a big mastermind, and I just decided the last couple of days that, my mission, my vision, and everything that I put together is like, I'm going to live in Colombia for a few years on the ocean, and it's wonderful to have that opportunity, but that's a slowing down moment. And not trying to push so hard with the business, everything. It's like, hey, let's be strategic about this. So I think life, to Dan's point, is a gap, and you got to slow down and look down a little bit instead of always pushing so hard and do some fun stuff.
You think it's a slowdown because you're done, or it's a slowdown because you're in a period of rest?
I don't think I'm done or rest. It's going to sound weird, but I think it's a period of peace. So in my new book, we talk a lot about Kahneman's work, like System 1 and System 2 thinking. I don't know if you're familiar with Thinking Fast and Thinking Slow. Great book, right? So I think I'm finally at a place where I'm using System 2 a lot more instead of just System 1. And it's really allowing me to make better life choices. And so getting that clarity is helping me a lot. One of the big things in my book that we talk a lot about is open and closed loops and identifying things that have been going on for a long time. So they're either outcome loop, they're active loop, or they're either an old loop. right? So a good example for me learning Spanish is one of my visions. I want to be fluent Spanish, obviously living in Colombia. And the loop is an outcome loop. Okay. So as a type A person, I'm trying to make it an active loop. So where I'm coming from is I stress out if I don't do Spanish. Like, oh my God, I didn't do my Spanish lesson today. It's not something that's finite. It's not going to be done. Like that'll be forever. It's like being a great parent. It's like building a company. Those things don't end. The problem is a lot of type A people and people that are trying to do things, even type B or introvert as I am, we want to close all of our loops, but not all loops are meant to be closed. And so when you're trying to close loops that aren't meant to be closed, you're creating this massive amount of stress, which is what everybody's dealing with right now, decision fatigue, cognitive overload. When you get rid of all that stuff, you understand what your loops are, it settles you down, and you can make clearer decisions on your life experience. And I think that's what's so important. That's what's been transformational for me.
Do you find most people are aware of their loops?
No, I think just like Hyman's work, I think most people are listening to System 1. I mean, here's the beautiful thing. Like, I don't claim to be intelligent. Like, I don't know what my IQ is. I know I didn't get good grades in school. But what I can claim is EQ, like emotional intelligence. And that is awareness. And here's the cool thing is that's a skill. I could do that outside the framework of school. All I had to do is read 3 books a week, go to seminars, you know? And so I think my emotional intelligence is really high. I don't know about my IQ. I don't even care. But what that is awareness. And so to your point, it's not rest. Or not slowing down, or it's awareness. Like, what is going to bring joy? What is going to bring peace? And what can I step out and do? And I think that's what a lot of people are. So to your point, no, I think most people are kind of on the hamster wheel, just going 100 miles an hour, and they never take enough time to really slow down and go, what's important?
Have you read Awareness by Anthony DeMello?
Oh, one of my favorite books.
Okay.
Yes. I'm a very spiritual person. That's a big part of my life. And I think that's one of the best books written. I recommend that to a lot of people.
There's still some old recordings of him, and he's extremely funny to watch. He's a Jesuit priest, and he's just like, wake up.
I love it. Yeah, I've just gave that to a CEO. She's a 24-year-old amazing Russian designer in New York that I coach, and we read that book together, and it changed her life. It literally changed, because she had never conceptually had any of that type of information. And I think a Jesuit priest, teaching this Russian 24-year-old eclectic designer, it does, but it was perfect. It just was perfect, and we really had some big breakthroughs. So I appreciate you bringing up that book.
What else are most people unaware of in their daily life?
Well, there's another person, Harold Cameron, wrote a really good kind of synopsis from Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. So you're familiar with Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, wrote On Death and Dying and Grieving. It's a psychological book that a lot of people use for dying. Well, he looked at it as an entrepreneur. And so I spent a whole chapter on this and expanded on it. And it's basically this failure cycle. And if I can share it, it's really good. It's pretty simple. And it's why people chase the shiny object and a lot of the reasons people are failing. We have this uninformed optimism whenever we do anything. Like me going to Colombia. Right now, I have uninformed optimism. I travel there a lot, so I know the place. But there's still a lot of, I don't know everything. So I've got this really awesome optimism. What happens is we reach a stage, it's almost cyclical, where we hit informed pessimism. Because it's like, I'm going to get there, and now I got to get the satellite internet. Maybe it doesn't work as good, and I have to get a backup internet, and then maybe the water's, now you're getting this pessimism. So what that leads to a crisis of meaning. And at the crisis of meaning, we either burn out, or guess what happens? We start over, and I go, I'm going to go back to Indiana and Chicago. And, now all of a sudden you're back to uninformed optimism. So then you're just constantly running this cycle. And I think that's what most people are stuck in. They do something for a while, they get excited, and then they get the pessimism, they get the informed pessimism. Oh, this is a little more difficult. And so they hit the crisis of meaning. And instead of getting to informed optimism, like, okay, this is going to be hard as hell, but I'm going to do it. They find something new. Oh, okay, it's the new iPhone's out. I'm going to go do this. And then, the new iPhone isn't as good as it said. The battery doesn't last as long. And then it's just this constant cycle. So for me to help people, I really like them to understand where they are in that cycle. Like, okay, I'm just getting started. It's probably going to get a little bit tough, so that's a really important thing.
It is. When you first started the comment, I was thinking of the cycles of seasons. And everything goes through a cycle of seasons. And for whatever reason, we really struggle with winter.
Oh, I agree. Yes.
And yet, without winter, you can't have spring and new growth.
Yeah.
And that cycle has to continue. And it happens generationally, it happens through just parts of work and everything else. And you've got to deal with it. Yet, people don't want to.
Economically, a lot of business owners that do a really great job love recession. Investors love when everybody else is screaming like, "Oh my gosh, oh my gosh!" And there's a few people. I'll be one of them. Man, I'm so glad that stock price is so low. I can finally buy it. I don't want anybody ever lose money. I'm not a shorter. I don't do any of that. But it's an approach to life. Like it's a different perspective. And if you can see things differently, again, going back to McAllowitz, right? We're a little different, it changes your own perspective. And that's kind of how I live. It's like, I think sometimes, I qualified for the Boston Marathon at 56 last year. I'm not a runner. And I decided to do that. I learned so much in that process because it was harder than hell. And the truth is, it was the tough days that really made me run a 3:27 in Toledo. It wasn't the easy days. It was, getting through some of the tough times. And actually, my failure, my first marathon in Indy, that I did 6 months before, bonking at mile 18, I learned everything. That's when I learned everything. It scared me because it was hard and I did it in 4 hours. But point being, yeah, you're 100% right. And it's something that people that become more successful, they're a little different. They can get through. I love your analogy of the winter. They can get through the negative state and they come out on the other side, win or lose. That's another big thing. Like you're going to lose a lot. So even when you lose, you just dust yourself off, right? And do the next thing.
How easy is it to dust yourself off?
It's not. I think it's getting harder and harder. I think mental health is a big issue. I think, and this is, okay, this is coming from somebody who works with people, right? But I think that's why you need other people, like whether it's community, coaches, spiritual leaders. I mean, you need somebody that you can borrow belief from. And it's hard out there because there's not a lot of people that espouse that. And this isn't prosperity gospel. I'm not saying, just go out there and even though I love it, don't get me wrong, I love prosperity thought and methods. When you're at the bottom of the bottom, right? A lot of times you don't want to hear somebody telling you get up. But at that point, you have to have somebody that believes in you. For me, it's always my mother. My mother didn't go to college, but God, I could go out and grab a garbage can and start running down the street naked, and she'd be saying, "You look great out there," And sometimes that's all you need. That one person. And I think that's why coaching, listening to your show, getting around people that think differently are so important because it's damn hard to get up sometimes. And some people never do.
No, a lot of people don't. You never hear about them, so to speak.
No, apathy, right? They become apathetic. And that to me is the one thing I hate. I mean, I'm in a little town in LaPorte, Indiana. All you gotta do is go to Walmart. Just go to Walmart. You see so many people have given up. They've just given up. And I feel so bad for them because I can tell they're going to be in pain. And they're in pain. They're living in pain. And it doesn't need to be that way, but they didn't have the right support system. Coming back to your original question on money, same thing with health and everything else. Our system does not teach those basic things and educate people to help them get up because they're going to get knocked down.
So what is the best? Like if someone gets knocked down, what's the easiest way to get back up?
I personally think it's cadence, right? So I teach cadence, which means you have to have some go-to because here's the deal. Motivation wears out. Willpower fades. Discipline only works for few. We're not military people. So you have to have some structure. I've done 6,000 podcasts, right? So every day for 21 years. So you got to have something that no matter how bad it gets, you have to do it. It's my biggest blessing and my biggest curse. I had to learn. Like I had to become better at the things that I do because I have to do my podcast. But I have to show up. So you need something that you can get back on the cadence. Now, I quit drinking a few years ago. I was a binge drinker. Like I could do a weekend with the buddies, man, and we would party hard and I would lose 3 days. But I'd have to get back up and get going, And finally, I woke up one day in my life and said, that can't be a part of your life. You can't qualify for the Boston Marathon and be a drinker. So you have to have some cadence. Like you have to be able to get back up and just get started again. You get knocked down. I think it was the great Les Brown. I love Les Brown. He says, if you fall down, look up. Because if you can look up, you can get up. If you can't look down, you're not going to get back up. And that's really the secret.
Sometimes you need a helping hand. It seems like today, though, people want more than a helping hand. Like they don't want the helping hand. They just want to be lifted up, so to speak. Maybe I have that wrong.
No, you're right there. I mean, even the AI model, the new Claude, which I think a lot of people have went over to that, it's now becoming more sensitive to the way it talks to people. And I personally don't like that. I want an analytical, data-driven system. But it's really, they're programming it to be really sensitive about how it deals with people and their emotions.
Well, I can tell you how Gemini deals with me extremely harshly. I even challenged it. I go, what is that? And it goes, well, you say you tell people the truth, even if they'll fire you. So I figured you could deal with that. I was like, you know what? I'll take that. Fair enough.
Well, and I maybe I need to go over to Gemini because that's how Claude was. And their latest one now is too soft for me. Like, I want to know the data. I don't want to hear regurgitated what I want to hear. You know what I'm saying? I want to hear the facts. But I can tell you, we've been analyzing as a team. We're noticing it because we use it in some different stuff and it'll even tell you it's programmed now to be a little softer and a little kinder and try to help you up, which is not a bad thing until it's a bad thing.
Well, it also has to not follow you into your derangement or your delusion. Is that maybe the better way to say it?
I think that's a great way to put it. And we're talking to entrepreneurs, and I think that's a scary thing. We have one person in one of my big groups that we have that's, who's a really amazing person and has just got so far down this rabbit hole and is now creating apps and doing all that. It's like, where are you going? Like, get out of the AI, because it's not serving you. Get back to doing the actions that you do. Part of the problem is, and let's step back on your question. Part of the problem is it's just like authors. So when I, got out of the corporate world and started growing, the thing was to write a book. The reason you wrote a book is because you became a speaker and then you didn't have to work as hard. Full disclosure, that's why I did it. I mean, I'll sell millions of copies of my book, get on a neutral. I don't have to work. I told my wife, we spent 40 grand. I had all these books come in on a truck. I didn't even know. They asked if I had a forklift. We put them in the house. I told my wife, I self-published. I said, I'm going to sell all these books. I went to a conference. I took 1,000 books, sold 2, had to bring them all back in the car. I mean, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. It was a disaster. But we wrote those books back then with the dream of becoming Wayne Dyer, who became a friend of mine, thanks to Hay House, and rest in peace, Wayne. But at the end of the day, we were writing because we were kind of lazy. Like, the idea was I could write a book and so it's always been tough for me to work with coaches a lot of times because they're like, oh, I can just coach 3 people and write a book. Well, 21 years later, 5 books later, I realized the book's the easy part. There's a lot harder stuff to it. Now we have AI and we're all trying to figure out how to work without working. And I get it because I try to too. Like, we all want to sit behind the computer and make money. I get it. Who doesn't want to do that? But the reality in life, like if we get metaphysical, the law of attraction, the last word's action. There has to be some growth and some movement in things. And I think that's what a lot of us are missing. And myself included, I have to fight that battle all the time.
I know in the world of books, 20% is writing it, 80% is promoting it. And most people don't realize how much work goes into promoting your book. Like you said, you've got to sell it. And even when you do, you don't make much money off the book itself.
No, I've done it all. So I went with Hay House. They gave me a huge check, right? So I sold a ton of books with them. That was good. But even with Hay House, they didn't promote it. The new rule for me, at least, is you got to give me at least $500,000, $1 million. I'm not writing a book for you because they just don't care about you. So I do all my own stuff now. So my last book's doing great. But the average book, there's 6,000 to 10,000 books released a day worldwide. So the average book sells 300 copies. I mean, that's a great sale. I mean, that's pretty crazy when you think about it. That's no money. So if you're not promoting it and you're not working it and you're not making it happen, the book's not going to do much for you. It's not going to make you much money. It's not going to do much. The problem is none of the people that are selling the publishing deals, they're not telling anybody this. They're just showing the 1%. Just like YouTube or anything else. I got 30,000 subscribers on YouTube. I could spend time on that, but I'm not a 1% YouTuber. I think the most I made is $3,000 on advertising on YouTube. I just have fun with it. It's a weird world, right? So you got to pick your lane. And if books are your lane, you got to learn about books. You got to figure out what they are. I write books for my people and my systems. In fact, Get It Done Now, which is I love it because it's the first book I ever written for money. My first book I wrote so I could leave corporate and I thought I'd become a millionaire and I sold 2 copies. Right. So over years, I've done better with it now, but it was a disaster. The next couple books were books that I wrote for MorningCoach and my people. And then Hay House came out and said, hey, we'll write you a big check, write a book. So, and now finally I wrote a book with a 20-year system that I'm excited about, and it's doing better than anything because I'm not even, it wasn't even intentional. Like I needed a system for my people because everybody's asking me. And I said, well, let me get the book together. So the book's out there now. So it's crazy.
So let's talk about that because at my heart, I'm a systems guy. Run the system. Yes. You don't have to think. It takes the cognitive load way, way down. It makes it easy. I haven't had a chance to read the book. Usually I try to before these, but kind of give us the gist of, because most people aren't systems people.
No. It's funny because get things done, it means get it done now. And it's actually towards Eckhart Tolle's power of now. The now means now, not get it done now, but actually be present. The system has been around, I built it for 21 years. So just a little background. I come from aerospace, sales, and then running companies. At the time when I was in it in the early 90s, late 80s, Jack Welch had built GE. And Good to Great, Jim Collins' work was out. And I was just a reader and was getting my MBA and loved Jack Welch. And I love Six Sigma. And all the Welch people that were in Six Sigma ran all the aerospace companies, whether you're talking defense contractors or in my world, Boeing, they were all GE guys. Like GE was promoting everything. So my background comes from not being an engineer, but understanding quality, helping understand ISO and quality. And so I said, I need to build a system for me. So I built a system around what we call the cascade: mission, vision, values, which is mission is what you're going to do in 12 months. Vision is who you're going to become. And values are what's important. And then the cascade goals, projects, tasks. So I built this system and started teaching it and incorporated a daily coach cast with it so I could be with people 15 minutes a day, because you obviously love all this as much as I do. A lot of people go to Tony, who's amazing. They get their suntan, they come back, and then Monday happens and they have no system. There's no consistency there. And so their workbook with 60 pages in it turns into maybe one item that they actually do. And so 21 years ago, I said, no, I need something that's consistent. You can go do all that stuff, but bring it back and make sure you have a system in place. So where I built the life operating system, and we don't market this heavy. I've got 400 people. We don't do high dollar stuff. I charge $100 a month. I charge $200 a month for our software system. Reason being, I want people with me 3-4 years. And that's what I have. I have a very loyal group of people. We have a community, but we're not out there pressuring heavy because we want to work with people to make sure they have success. So the key is making sure they're clear on their mission and vision, which is what are you going to do? For example, grow your business, something you're going to do. And vision is who you're going to become. Last year was qualify the Boston Marathon. I did that. This year's become fluent Spanish. Think the reason that my brain's going, I need to go live in Colombia for a couple of years is because that's obviously going to make me become that person. And then values are what's important. Then the cascades down from that, your goals, projects, tasks. So it's a system, right? It's a life operating system.
So I've always said people need a life plan. And I find very few people will do it. And I find people are scared to do a life plan. And I'm like, look, this is not Moses writing on the tablets, right? It's where you are today. 10 years from now, you're going to be in a whole different place in life.
Raggy, let's just think about this. This is for you to use later because it's really important. People will spend thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars. They'll spend all this time on their wedding. It's one day. I'm not being anti-romantic, right? I'm not. But they won't spend a dime, or they won't spend any time. They won't even get invitations for their own life. Like, it blows my mind. I'm like, you do all this work for one day. Why wouldn't you do that for your life? I don't get it. It's insanity to me.
I don't get it either. It's the same thing with the business owners. You have to have the mission, the values, all of those things for your company. And yet most business owners ignore it just as well. I'm always trying to figure out, is there a magic key to get them to take the time to define what they want? Because once you define life, it becomes so easy to do it. You're going to go to Colombia, right? You're going to get on the airplane. That airstrip in Colombia is not very big, right? And yet that pilot is going to find that airstrip because he knows where he's going. And halfway through the flight, if someone's like, hey, what about England? He's going to be like, no. I have a mission. I'm going to Colombia and that airport. And we're on course, even though we're off course 90% of the time. And this is what I'm doing. And yet, I don't know. I bang my head against the wall.
You're really preaching what is, I think, the most important thing, and that is to learn to say no. But you can't say no if you don't have a direction or a course. And the more successful you get, the more your no's have to be. What's insane is the people that aren't successful, that are struggling, right, are saying yes to everything. And it's like, you got to say no. Like, you got to learn to say no and get some structure and some focus, or you're just not going to get there. You want to play guitar, you're going to play guitar for a week and then go play piano, then go play guitar. It's not going to work. Like, this isn't brain surgery. It's not rocket science. It really isn't. Look, I was a C&D student. The difference is I set a course, I go do it. If it's a book, I'm going to write the book. I'm going to spend the time that it takes. I'm going to build the systems to do it. If I'm going to go to Columbia, I'm going to build the systems. I'm going to get committed to it. And I'm just going to do it. And some things I'm not good at. Look, golf. I've been trying it for 10 years. I've been to 10 handicap. I played 2 nights ago the first time in the year. I shot a 57. I get it. It's not my thing. It just isn't. I'm not going to spend the time it takes to get good at it. There's other things in my life. So you got to say no. It's hard. All my buddies are like, well, what's wrong with you? You got a problem? It's not a priority. And if I make it one because of social pressure, now all of a sudden I'm carving out days, trying to get better at this damn game. For what reason? It's actually not, I'm not good at it. My energy's not good on a golf course. I can go out and have fun, but to become competitive, it's just not my thing. So I got to say no.
This episode of Richer Soul is sponsored by the Profit Answer Man podcast. If you're a business owner who wants to scale and grow, increase profits, or want to have strategic conversations around your financials, then check out the podcast. You'll learn how to work less, increase cash flow, increase profits, and build reserves to help you weather storms. It's built on the Profit First methodology of pay yourself first. The Profit Answer Man podcast is a must listen to for every small business owner and anyone who wants to help them survive and thrive. Check it out on your favorite listening platform. I find most people don't have that staying power to keep going time after time. Like, they'll be good for a week, maybe 2, maybe 3, but to consistently show up, I don't know why. And actually, I read something the other day. It was about psychological, that once you miss one, people have this innate thing to just give up instead of going, oh, I just missed one, I'm still going to do it tomorrow. And I forget the word that was associated with that. And that's not something I've heard about a lot. I don't know if you're familiar with the concept. I should have written it down and paid more attention to it. But it was this innate thing that the moment you skip it once.
It makes sense. I mean, Ziegler used to teach that, don't make the first exemption. Because if, like cigarette smoking, you quit for 10 years, it's like, I'll just have one, right? And that's the breakdown. I have to agree. I mean, there's psychological issues. Look, I don't have all the answers, right? I don't think anybody does, right? We're all unique individuals living a unique experience. But to your point, yeah, it's pretty sad that a lot of people give up way too early. Now, there's a time to give up, right? Just like me with golf. This is not my thing. I'm not going to expend all my energy and effort to try to get good. But at some point, you got to pick a path. Like, you got to pick, this is what I want to do, and stick with it long enough to get through the suck stage. Everybody sucks at the beginning. There's very few virtuosos at anything, right? So you got to get through that part. Remember the old 10,000 hours thing, right? There's something to be said about that.
There is. Although I think to be really great, I think there's a couple things into being really great at something. One is also a variety of experiences. And I say that because if you're just doing one thing, you can't see how else you could do it. And you just talked about the Boston Marathon. They just had record breaking in the marathon for speeds. They did something different, and they brought another way of looking at it, which was food and how you're doing it. And breaking of the 4-mile minute wasn't mindset. It was, how do I breathe and how do I oxygenate myself? And so these are the things that you need to have multiple domains to have that variety to see it from a different angle than everybody else does, but you can't without experience.
Well, and I think that's mastery, right? I don't think people are trying to be masteries. I think the problem is a lot of people are, they're at the beginner stage, right? And they're trying a million things instead of just building success upon success and failure upon failure and getting, what is running, running a business. But even let's peel this back, right? So it's not even about getting to mastery. It's about why are you doing it? So MLMs are a great example of this. So I have spoken to MLM conferences for years. So Randy Gage is a good friend of mine. He's very successful in MLM. So one of the few people I know, I actually coach two of the biggest Herbalife distributors, fourth and fifth in the world. So I know the business. But the majority of the people, the reason they're joining those businesses, and again, nothing negative about it. I think there's actually some good qualities. People learn to be an entrepreneur. There's no investment, right? It's $100, $200 a month. So at least they're learning some stuff. But the problem is 99% of those people why are they joining those things? To make money. They're not there for the product. They're not there for the experience. They're just there to make money. So when 90 days comes around, they're not making money, they quit. You got to look at why you're doing it. Why did I run around the Boston Marathon? Because I wanted to have great health. I wanted to qualify for Boston. That would put me in a lead area at 56 years old. So you got to look at why. Why do I want to come? My wife's Colombian. So I have a different, I'm not just going to the beach to hang out. I want to enjoy that culture. She deserves it. 21 years she's put up with me. It's my turn to give back, right? There's a really deep reason. There's this old woman that sells cashews on the beach. And my Spanish is kind of broken. I want to have a conversation with her. You got to dig into the why, and that's going to get you going. And I think that's the other reason the majority of entrepreneurs do a lot of things for money. Let's just call it that. I did it. And the reason my first book wasn't successful, it was about money. I didn't care about the readers. I thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to make I banked in my head. It wasn't, this book's great because I actually care, So I think this all kind of comes back to that. Like you can have a life plan, but if your why doesn't match the life plan, it's out of congruence, right? I think you're going to have problems.
Well, and that's the whole purpose of the life plan is to define what is important to you now or in this moment at this stage of your life. And actually, the way that the book I went through was to start with the eulogy, begin with the end in mind.
I love it. It's a great technique. Yeah, start with the end in mind. I think it's great. If you can't get that far ahead, just start this year. Like, what can you do, But to your point earlier, I don't think anybody's doing a lot of this work. Like, that's the problem. Nobody sat down and says, why is my life the way it is? And what can I do to change it? My clients are, like, I have a lot of people. That's why I love working with them. But I think 99% of the world's population isn't doing this.
So here's the billion-dollar question. Do we focus on the 1% and ignore the 99? Or is there a way to get that 1 to 2? Is there a way to look at some of those people and go, hey, what Anthony says, wake up?
It's a tough question. I'm in a stage in my life where I'm moving away from that. I had that vision at some point, but turning 57, I'm really happy working with people that are, that respect what I do and want to be a part of something compared to somebody that's kind of looking at me like, what are you talking about? So it's tough for me because yes, in a perfect world, I would love to move that needle. It's just people are so, again, system one, system two thinking back to, there's so much in the system one. They're so reactive. They're so into social media. They're so programmed. They're so stuck on the algorithm. It's hard for me to jump back in there. It really is. So I think the key is, as you're doing, and I think we got to live by example. So people see you and say, what is that person doing? I can tell you just I came back 3 years ago to this small hometown. People think I'm insane. They don't understand what I do. It's a blue collar town. It's hard for me because a night out typically is go play golf and get drunk. I mean, that's what they do. And nothing against it. That's their life. I have nothing against that. But I'm coming back and I'm going to play golf and read Call of Cthulhu. I'm going to do something that enriches my brain. I don't need to go to the bar and sit there every day. So I don't know. I think it's a challenge. You lead by example. There's nothing wrong. There's no judgment. I just wish people would wake up away from the apathy where they just give up. That's the problem I have, especially in the United States, where you have just so much opportunity to learn, get education, try new things, do so much.
When you were younger, were you able to get people to shift, or has it always just been what I ended up attracting, so to speak?
Yeah, no, I think I was. I mean, we were top 25 in the world on iTunes. We were free. We're getting 40,000 downloads. Like it was, we were really moving the needle at that point. But I think my personality gets in the way a little bit because, I rebel against everything. So even when I'm starting to do really good, it's like, we're doing too good. You're becoming, this is a popular thing, so it's kind of, I was an old headbanger, rebel kid. So I think, I kind of rebel against it. But no, we did. I think we did. I think we still do a little bit. But I do like working with, I like to say seasoned people that are a little older that are already building and they're looking for me to go another notch up, if that makes sense. I get joy out of that. I do love it. I mean, I'm going to do a couch to 5K for the local YMCA. I'm going to help a bunch of runners just finish a 5K. So I'm doing a lot of philanthropic stuff to give back. But as far as professional work, I like yourself. I want to work with somebody that knows McAllowitz, that's well read, that's going, hey, I just need a couple things. Can you help? So yeah, I did move people. I just don't know if I will ever be back to that state again.
We've seen a shift in the world in the sense, 20 years ago when you started, knowledge was power. In school, knowledge was everything, right? Memorize everything because that's what gives you a good grade. Today, it's no longer about the calculator. It's now about the fact that whatever knowledge you need and want is freely available to you.
It's amazing. Yeah, what a blessing, right? I mean, it's a blessing and a curse. I think it's a blessing. I mean, I had to use card catalogs in college. We had to, take the folder and the, the cards, and now you just go on the internet and you get all of that in a second. It's crazy.
So, where does that leave the world when knowledge is so widely available? Yet, there's got to be a shift.
I think there's billions of people in the world. And I think I mentioned the marketers that, it's been such a dopamine driven thing for years. It still is. Facebook's dopamine. You hit the like button. How many people like my thing, But at the end of the day, there's a human connection point that's really awesome right now. That's a fun thing to build is, people got knowledge. And I think even the marketing stuff, like I come from that world, right? So if you look at like the Sugarmans and all the old copywriters, and we used to all try to learn copy, right? But now you can put that into an AI and say, hey, I want the copy to look like Sugarman, that everybody can build landing pages and everything's so clean and neat and pretty that I think that broken and humanistic is just a wonderful place to be right now. So I don't think you need all the knowledge. I think you need to figure out what it is that you want to experience in life and go have some experiences. And that's where the knowledge comes in because now you have the ability. I can go research Palomino, Colombia and learn about the indigenous Indians there before I go, where I could never do that before. And now I can go experience that, which is great. From a business perspective, you can go out there and find needs and fill a need. That's all business is. And things are transitioning, obviously. A lot of the knowledge stuff people aren't going to pay for. So you've got to make sure you've got some segue into something that you can solve somebody's problem. That's the key thing.
What I think is going to be the shift or part of a shift is coming back to community in person versus online. But I also think the person...
Can I don't want to interrupt, but can I say something? Because it's really important. You're right there. So one of the big things is we launched community this year, right? So we went to Circle. We have a big community because you can't have that. And the other thing we're doing is experiences. One of the reasons I'm going to Colombia is because I have a big retreat. I have a lot of people already wanting to go. And experiences are critical. So here's somebody that's doing this 21 years, right? So information, 6,000 CoachCasts. My CoachCast is what drove it. But now anybody can kind of get that, right? Now you can't really get me, but they still can go get some of that. So we're really big in community and we're big into experiences. Those two things you can never, never, never take away. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but your point was so spot on. I had to just accentuate that.
So what I do is I help business owners with their finances. Clearly, you can go to AI now and it'll give you a semi-close answer with a lot of mistakes, but that's a whole nother story. But the owner's still sitting there with their emotions. And how do I get unfrozen? How do I make a decision between these three choices? Because AI is not going to make a decision for you.
And if it does, it's just going to spit back what it thinks you want to hear, which is scary. Okay, so it may make a decision, but it's going to look at the data you've been giving it and it's going to feed you back what it thinks. This is really critical. It's not going to give you the accurate answer. Okay. And I think this is really important, especially from financial information. So if you're saying I'm conservative and, I want to, it won't give you the right answer. It's going to give you the answer it thinks you need to hear. And I think that's really important distinction.
I agree. But it's also, how do you deal with the human emotion? Because throughout this whole conversation, you've talked about everyone anxiety, checked out, it's getting worse. I think being able to help people in that emotional space, getting them to move and to make a choice, I think that's where the people who can do that, I think that's where the shift is going to come.
I would agree. No, like I said, it's oxytocin versus dopamine, which is the hug drug. That's what people want to feel. It goes back to old school. You need to know, like, and trust someone. And it's really hard to understand what's real and what isn't anymore. So how do you trust anybody? Is it just somebody that's going to AI and they're just getting, Spotify is a great example of this. Okay. They're having a big problem. So a lot of the music's AI. So on their top list, people are going, well, I need you to market. Yeah, it's great music, but I don't want to listen to an AI song. Right? I don't want to hear it. So you need to start marking this as AI. They don't want to do that because guess what happens? That song's going to drop out of the rankings because real human beings aren't going to want it. Now, there's a segment of the population that doesn't care. But there's a lot of people that are going, I want to listen to a real human being that's singing, a real human being that's doing guitar. There's a huge shift. I just think you're going to see it more and more, and it's already happening. And you can see it on the YouTubers that are doing music stuff that are going, we need to fix this. This isn't right.
I'm not that in tune on the music side. I know that a lot of that is happening. And I know I keep seeing these ads about, I started a faceless YouTube channel and I'm making $10 million. You could too. Yeah. I'm like, if I could do that, I wouldn't tell anyone. But that's another story.
Oh, true.
I'm in the AI rooms and they're like, look, I will create a product. And it's mostly a teaching, learning product. And we'll create the landing page and we'll do everything and we'll be done in 48 hours. And I raise my hand and go, why can't the person who wants to buy it just do the same thing with AI? And I'm like,
don't get me started. It's the old adage. Look, it's the same thing that's been being done for years, whether it was crypto, whether it was, it's the latest thing. And the people that make the money are teaching people how to make money. It's an easy sale. And we're still trying to get people to say, wake up. These people aren't doing anything. They're teaching you how to make money. That's how they're making money. They've never built a real business. So, it's very similar that even the AI stuff, oh, you're just a prompt away. No, you're not. I think people are learning that. But it's still an easy game because, unfortunately, and you're a finance guy, so you understand this. It's a numbers game with that stuff. But it's garbage, and it's what I fight against. Because why is there apathy? Because somebody buys a product like that. Drives me nuts. A young person, 26 years old, they're trying to get through college. Oh, I can make $1 million, face this YouTube channel. They tried, it doesn't work. Guess what? They hate life. They hate themselves. They hate everybody. So I have a problem with it.
Do you know what the completion rate of courses was before AI, like going back 5 or 10 years?
Yeah, it's terrible. It's
1 to 3%. People would buy it to feel good about wanting to learn, but they didn't actually take the course they bought.
You're on it. So this is what I teach, right? So when you push the button, you feel the pain, you push the button, the pain goes away. But that's when it starts. But most people push the button, and the pain goes away, and they never do anything. It drives me nuts. My team used to go crazy because I would call people and say, why are you not doing the work? Is it me? But the problem is you just said it. When they push the button, the pain goes away. Oh, I got this financial problem. So I'm going to go work with Rocky. Rocky's got this 10-step thing. Boom. Okay, I bought the 10-step things. My financial problems go away. No, you just are getting started, right? But that's human nature. It drives me nuts.
It is. You've touched a bit on the spiritual side. What does that mean to you, and how is that integrated into the way you live?
The more successful I've come, the more my spiritual side I'm a metaphysician at heart. I did a non-traditional PhD. It's a crazy esoteric journey where I studied the world's religions. I was confirmed Catholic. That's what I grew up. I still love to go to a Spanish Catholic mass. And I'm on the Christian side. So I do love Jesus. And that's the direction I go. I do study Buddha. I've studied the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna, and everything. It's a tremendous part of my life because I always know that's there. People say, oh, it's a crutch. It's not a crutch for me. It's my stable foundation. My faith is very, very important to me. And I'm weak in it. I'm terrible. I do a lot of bad things. But from a success perspective, it's a grounding for me, whether it's I do Hail Marys or I go read a Buddhist Zen about the last strawberry. I have a book of prayers and mantras. I absolutely love that depth. It's just, I just believe there's something more. Just to go back in my history real quick. When I was running aerospace, I worked through sales all the way up to running a company, making 10 times more than my parents ever made, sitting in office, hating my life. And that's when I got Eckhart's book, The Power of Now. And not only was it about the power of now, it was about the rebirth of spirituality in me. It was a rebirth of, I'm sitting in this office making more money than anybody. I've got a huge team of 500 people. I hate my life. I'm dying. I'm going to the emergency room at 35. What the hell is going on? It was ridiculous. And I had reached the pinnacle of what everybody said you were supposed to reach. And I needed that spiritual side. I remember sitting on my car with the power now sitting there, stuck in traffic on I-95, driving around, going to this stoplight, trying to get out of traffic, to get to work, rushing, and just seeing a bird in these poles up there and just being so immersed in the now is like I put glasses on. And I'm like, what am I doing? Like, I just woke up. Like, it was the weirdest thing. Not that everybody has an experience like that, but it really was for me. And since then, I've just gone down deeper and deeper into my spirituality and study. I absolutely love it. It's changed my life.
So you probably can understand this because you've got organized religion, and Catholicism is highly kind of ritualized.
Organized.
Yeah. And yet you've got this other side of spirituality that is very it's the exact opposite, so to speak.
Yes.
How have you kind of integrated that for you?
It's very difficult. Like, a lot of it's beyond human comprehension, like even the Trinity. So I'm a Trinity guy, the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, they're all one, but yet one's the Son, one's the Father. There's nothing that makes sense. I mean, it doesn't make sense because Jesus is God and God is Jesus, but yet he's praying to Jesus. He was inhuman. It's utterly confusing. Same thing with the church. The church is utterly confusing. Like, I grew up Catholic. I love communion. I think it's like a connection with me in Christ, but yet it's actually supposed to be with the Catholic Church, which just is mind-boggling to me, right? So yeah, organized, I think, there's a difference between spirituality and religion. Like, I follow Christ. If you follow Jesus Christ, he was a rebel. I mean, he threw the church, he threw everybody out. Like, if you really look at what he taught, it's really not what we're teaching in most organized religions. It really isn't. It's like he was the opposite. He's like, pray in the closet, like disappear, go find yourself. And for me, the sacrifice and then the ascension is just beautiful. And we're finding more scientific evidence. But bottom line is, yes, there is an issue there. Like, it's dogmatic, human. Here's what I always say. Does it work for you? If it works for you, great. If it doesn't, don't keep seeking. The answer's there. It's always inside. It's not external. And that's where the real answer is to do your own work. It's difficult stuff, though.
Well, and I think that's true in every part of this journey. I mean, the entire entrepreneurial journey is an internal journey. Your company is only going to grow as much as you grow. Even as an employee, you're only going to grow as much as you grow.
Yep. I have to tell you, the young girl that I was telling you before who found my website, set up a meeting, we met. I've been working with her for years now, said, JB, as an entrepreneur, I didn't realize, that I needed this. I didn't realize it's all mental. It's all mental. Like, the whole journey's mental. Like, it's crazy. And we've had such great conversations about that because she realized it's a mental game. Like, her growth from 4 million to 20 million was just mental. I mean, there were things she had to do, but it was her growth. Right? And her awareness and the way she did things. You mentioned Dan Sullivan. I think he's a genius. I love his work. And if you read his book, the 10X book, right? It's like you can 2X is harder than 10Xing, right? The 10X is the hard part, right? Because you got to do everything different than what you're doing at 2X. And even most entrepreneurs don't understand that concept. It's like, let's just work harder. Let's just increase the widget output. It's all mental. What Dan's saying is, no, do it a whole new way, right? And I'm going through that right now. Like, we're in a big 10X project because I went from, we have planners for this remarkable device and everything else. And now we're going more into a higher level coaching. It's a big shift, but it's creating massive amounts of income because it's different. It's not just doubling down on the things we did before. So yeah, I'm preaching to the choir, I know, but I really believe in that idea of mindset and experience. And Dan teaches it so well.
And his protege, I'll call him, Ben Hardy, in the science of scaling, it's to set your new floor. What are the things that you will no longer tolerate or do? And you have to set the floor and shut the door and stop.
Agreed. I'm a Neville Goddard guy. So Wayne Dyer was a friend of mine. So I get real metaphysical with stuff. And Neville kind of comes from the aspect that you have to die. Like you have to let that person die. You got to become somebody new if you're going to manifest a new experience. So it's similar to Hardy. It's a very similar thing. Like you got to give up the old habits. We self-sabotage so much. Like we go backwards so much because we go back to where we're comfortable. The more comfortable we are, we go back. So when you're doing new stuff, it's uncomfortable. So subconsciously, you tend to go back to where you were, but you got to die to that. If you want to become a new person, if you want to have new things, you got to let that go. So same to Hardy, or whether it's a spiritual thing, they're very similar. It's like, you got to change. It's that simple.
I have found most things in life, when you find a universal principle, it applies everywhere. It may be described differently, but the principle applies no matter what the situation is. And that's kind of what you're talking about.
That's why you need multiple teachers, right? I'm not offended if somebody listens to me for a while and leaves. I think it's great because you need to hear it 1,000 different ways because you never know which way you're going to hear it. I mean, I read books now that I wrote 20 years ago that mean totally different than me. I put dates in my books because I want to know where my life was at that point. And it's amazing to me. Now it's just, here, let's step back. It's just wonderful. Like it's a different way to live. I think, let's go to podcasting. When I started my podcast, just to emphasize this point, I'd have one listener when I started in 2006, right? And I would go grab my wife and I would hug her and I would say, oh my God, can you look, somebody listened to the podcast today. And it would be like 0001. And I would give her a hug. Do you realize if somebody did that today, they would say, are you insane? You only had one listener, you suck. And I really think that's why I've lasted 21 years because I get excited. I'm not into the vanity stuff. Yeah, we all like to see huge numbers. But to me, I go back to the day when one person listened. And I thought it was the greatest thing in the world. And you can say that's a weird way to live, a Pollyanna or whatever. But man, I think what a wonderful process. We can fail, we can get up, we can start over, it's so sad to me that so many people they have apathy. They just don't care. Like I said, I just go to Walmart and internally I'm crying. I'm saying a prayer to each person. Like, I just believe in you. I hope you have a great day because I just see it and it's sad to me. I'm just like, but you can't say anything. You can't do anything because people think you're being a bad person. So yeah, I think it's a mindset. It's the way you live your life. It's, I don't wake up every day like this. There's days I wake up and I want to go back to bed, that I think the world's ending. I get that subpoena from the lawyer. We've owned multiple businesses. There's nothing worse. I mean, the lawyers, they just know how to just like make you feel like your life is over, And I've had those days. And I've learned, going back to the loops, I have to put that in a box. I actually put my journal and go, okay, you got a subpoena day. Put it in the box, forget about it, set it over there. Don't let it disrupt your peace. And you don't do anything with it until your lawyer calls you back. There's nothing you can do. There's nothing that can happen. So it's not Pollyanna. It's not like, oh, the world's going to be great. I think it's like, I appreciate what I've been given and I'm going to live my best life. I think that's the difference.
And at the end of the day, that's kind of all you can do.
Yeah, isn't it?
Live your best life.
Give your best. And you're going to make massive mistakes. You're going to, and I think the better you get at understanding that and taking chances, you might go talk to that significant other, that person you never would have talked to before. And timing is such a huge thing. You just never know. I mean, you never know what day it can change your life. I'll give you an example. So I'm doing some podcast interviews now. And I had a guy 2 weeks ago. I'm just doing some interviews just like this. He's like, man, I want you for my company. I want you to come speak. I want everybody on MorningCoach. I want to get this. I mean, you never know. Like, you just don't know unless you're doing stuff.
That's it. And you show up and you get 1, and then you get 2, and then you get 8, and it compounds.
You would appreciate the business. I used to do this when I would talk about my podcast, how it grew, is that I would put the Lord's Supper up and I'd say, look, there's 12 people and this dude with slippers. I'd say, we're gonna do a revival here. And everybody, oh no. I mean, no, just think about that. This guy wrote a bestseller, had one of his best friends stab him in the back, and built the hugest organization in the world, right? It wasn't 30 people. It wasn't 40, it was 11, right? So go find your 11. Treat people with respect, value people intensely, let go of the Judases in the world that are trying to stab you in the back, and find those other ones. And you'll be surprised how much better your life is instead of trying to get millions of people. It's a big change.
It's just a shift in how you look at it all.
Our first P, we have 7 Ps to get up in the morning. First one, I'll just tell you, it's perspective, priorities, performance, patience, posture, persistence, and peace. So those are our 7 Ps every day. And we start with the number one, perspective. Because if you can wake up with the right perspective, it shifts everything. If you can count your blessings and you can realize what you have in front of you, it's so much better than slamming 2 cups of coffee, going to YouTube or going to Facebook, seeing all the garbage that's going on politically, everybody hating each other. You really got to shift your perspective. It's life-changing. If you do that for 90 days in a row, it's amazing how much you come out of the other side so much better.
I agree with you. It's time to learn the secrets of life. What's one truth about success you wish more people understood?
The definition of success. What does that really mean to you? I think, and I love talking to a financial person. I had a young couple that were like, I need to go back to work because we need a bigger house. I said, where do you spend most of your time? And we ended up getting her to start a kung fu class, an hour a day. She ended up making more money, ended up building this wonderful thing, got to spend time with her kids. So it's like, what is your definition of success? And why are you pointing that direction? Is it just a financial thing, or is it really important to you? So first, get that definition in place.
It's because the people across the street have a nicer house.
I get it.
What's a lesson that cost you a lot, but was worth every penny?
Oh, there's a lot of them, man. What lesson haven't I had that cost me a lot? It's been a comedy errors. I think it was the book, like publishing my first book, not knowing what I didn't know, spending $40,000 thinking I was this, young guy that had all the answers, going out to become a speaker and just failing. But in that failure led me to MorningCoach. Like I had to figure out how to do something. So, that's when we started doing the MySpace ads. This is how old I am. I'm spamming MySpace and I built a website. None of that would have happened without failing, with the book thing and learning about this business.
And sometimes that's the key. It's the failure opens the door to the success. And if you don't try, you're not going to have it. You would still be sitting here today going, one day I'm going to write a book.
100%.
If you were to give an 18-year-old one specific piece of wisdom, what would it be?
Can I swear?
Yeah.
I would say do shit. Just go do it. I don't cuss. I think it's lazy language, but I just felt that was appropriate. Like if you're 18 years old, go do things. Go live. Go try to figure things out. Don't buy into the system. Like you go get your degree if you want to get a degree, but it's not about that. It's about you living your life and doing things. Do shit, right? Just go do all kinds of stuff. Learn, jump into it, write music, sing, fall down. I just love it. I just think you need to live.
I might trademark that.
I love it.
If people would like to learn more about you and the programs, where can they find you?
MorningCoach.com. Really easy. Been at it a long time. They can learn more of their books, all that stuff. I'm just JB.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
I loved it, Rocky. Thank you. Amazing questions. You rock.
What I'm reminded of in this conversation is how easy it is to keep chasing progress while never pausing long enough to ask, what's it all for? JB reminds us that success is not just what you build, it's the system you live by every day. And whether that system brings you clarity, peace, and direction. So here's the question to sit with. What's your definition of success? And why are you pointed that way? And does your system and your progress and your actions every day take you the right direction? By the way, if you know someone who might need to listen to this, would you do me a favor and share the episode with them? If you want to continue the conversation, find me on LinkedIn. Have an abundant week.